Alright, the electricals and electronics. Look, again, they don't skimp on this either. They've got the Photech MT21 PID fuzzy temperature controller and the Photech timer here. This is the Photech MT21 temperature controller and the Photech TMP60-4D timer. Good thing that they use brand names, because obviously if anything goes wrong you can replace it with the same PID, and it will still be working all good, you know, and you probably could get some support from Photech. Photech, as far as I know, is a Taiwanese brand, so it's not the cheapest of the cheapest, and it's not the dearest of the dearest either, so it's a nice little temperature control they've used. Now the knobs here, again, quite a nice feel. These are plastic, but again, nice engagement. The one thing that I don't quite understand out of all the build quality is this little plastic knob here for a power switch. You know, most industrial machines would have this as the biggest knob, or you know, something very heavy, but they've gone the opposite and used a very dinky little plastic power switch knob, which does not make sense. You know, you feel like it could break at any time. That's the one thing that I'm not quite happy with, but turn it on. Controller cycles through its little modes, degrees Celsius here in Australia, and here's the SV temperature, which is the temperature that the PID will look for to get the drum to. This is the reading of the drum, the temperature that's inside the drum at this point in time. You've got the cooling tray switch, which powers the stirrer as well as the blower to cool down the beans. Got the well, they call it the baking switch, but the power temperature switch, the timer switch, which activates the timer. You can reset it, and this is the reset for the timer. Alright, I don't really use this timer. I mean, it's nice to have, I guess. But I do wire everything into a computer to track the profiles of the roast. So to start, you basically press this baking switch. See that power on, temperature, twist it, full on. Now even at nothing in terms of the air volume, there is a little bit of volume of air blowing through here, very tiny. So if I blow, put it to, I find the minimum you'd want is 20 for something to be blowing. Now this usually I'd be putting in under the outside my garage, but for now I'm not really roasting, I'm just doing a demonstration. So you can see the temperature starts to rise, and now I found that the rate of rise seems to be fixed. Now I'm not sure if that's the PID setting or the limitations of the elements, but yeah, I have a feeling it is the PID working at a rate of rise that is set and programmed. Unfortunately, I have not worked out how to cycle through the menu to find that setting to calibrate it. Now it's calibrated to a certain rate of rise that gives you very even roast, but sometimes I'd like to have a more aggressive rate of rise, and you know, I'd like that freedom to do so. I know that one way to cycle through the menu is to hold that down and then get through that, and then you go through that, but I cannot for the life of me find the P, the I, the D setting. And then here you can hold that down, and then you go through another set of menus, which is, I think it's the alarm menu, this thing does have an alarm. Now, for bean temperature, there is a thermocouple right through here, just below the trier, and this is a trier. Found that trier to be on the small side. You can't really get a good size sample of beans if you wanted to do some cupping throughout a roast. It would have to be quite quick with the pulling, pull, empty into a cup, and then cup that later on. It's not a big issue. This thing here I've weighed at 1.1 kilos. It's a very heavy little knob that holds it in. Drum speed is quite fast. Again, I don't have the variable drum speed controller, and I don't think I really need it because it has a good agitation. So I'm quite happy with not having to play with that. Now, I am currently piggybacking off this existing thermocouple, and what I've done is I've got this K-type thermocouple extension wire, and taken this off while all the powers are switched off, obviously, and connected it to the thermocouple connection at the back here, just behind this PID. Pulled it through and coming into this multimeter data logger, which plugs into a computer. Now, if I can put that on, alright, there you go. Now, you will find that this thing here is reading 42, 43 degrees, and this thing is reading 114 degrees. Now, the reason why I have calibrated, this thing here is actually reading at a substantially lower reading when the power is on, and I'm not sure what it is, and I'm sure some electricians would know what it is, but for instance, if I switch this off now, turn that off, put everything down. Now, you can see that that's gone to reading the real temperature. So I've turned it back on, it goes back down again. Alright? So look, I'm not sure what it is, but when I plug it into my computer, I've had to calibrate it to offset that, and I found that it has worked well. I'll just turn that all off. Now, I've also found that the ideal spot to pick up bean temperature would be right through where that little nut or bolt is, through this viewer here, right here. That's a M5 nut, and unfortunately most thermocouple with threads are M6. I have sourced one that's M5 off of the usual place, and just waiting for that to come, and then I can take that off, screw in the thermocouple here, have that running into here.